the end zone. Connect! He got it!
May steps into it, takes a shot downfield. Wow! The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl.
Intercepted.
Yes! Yes!
The Patriots are the AFC champions.
Here in the Bay Area, off we go.
Sam looks, throws, got a man wide open. Touchdown! Here comes the blitz. May hit as he tries to throw. Ball comes out, and he scores. The Seahawks win Super Bowl 60.
Presented by Verizon. Patrick Claybon here with Greg Rosenthal and Jordan Rodriguez. If you are familiar with any of those names and voices, you should check out NFL Daily. Well, if you're familiar, you're probably because you're already hanging out with us. We're also available if you're watching on the Fast channel, watching on YouTube. Just glad people are here to look at this, Greg. It's a schedule.
If you are interested in football, this is the show for you.
Woo, guys, I'm fired up. Patrick, earlier we had papers flying everywhere. We had spreadsheets. We had research. Man, this is a fun day.
And we hope everybody has got their schedule. Follow along as we go through this and talk about the games. It's very easy to do this very first one because we're starting with the very first game. It is the NFL kickoff, and it's the very last game that we just saw, Greg. The Patriots are playing against the Seattle Seahawks, a Super Bowl rematch. Are they going to try extra hard this time?
They are always trying their hardest. They need to just play a little bit better. I was disappointed when I saw this at first because it was such a disappointing game, but I've gotten over it, and now it's the turn for Drake May to make up for the worst moment of his professional career. I don't think we've really wrapped our minds around the fact that Drake May, in his second season, exceeded every human expectation. He wasn't even on our quarterback island as one of the top 12 quarterbacks to start the year. Then he almost wins MVP, and then he plays easily the worst football of his career 3 straight weeks in the playoffs. So it's kind of like, what Drake May are we going to see, and will we see A.J. Brown alongside him?
Ooh.
I think so.
Spicy. Well, you know, people don't forget, and certainly Seahawks fans nor Patriots fans will forget, that part of the reason he played so poorly, Greg, was because of his protection issues. And so that Patriots offensive line, you know, the Patriots went about attempting to invest and to reconfigure a little bit their offensive line. We'll see more of that through the offseason and into training camp. You know who didn't get worse, though, is the Seahawks defensive line. This is at home in Seattle. There's going to be banners raised, I assume. And the latest memory on the minds of Seahawks fans and Patriots fans alike was that defensive line just getting after Drake May all game. One of the most one-sided protection versus rush performances that I have seen, especially in a game of that caliber. Greg, you know, when you say I'm over it, that's the thing that people who aren't over it actually say.
I think I'll feel better when I see Will Campbell lining up at left guard for this game and the first-round pick Caleb Lomu over at left tackle.
Well, I think one thing that will make Patriots fans feel a lot better is the fact that Kenneth Walker is not going to be playing against them in this particular game. 27 carries, 135 yards in the Super Bowl. He also had 26 yards receiving. By the way, I picked Kenneth Walker to win Super Bowl MVP. That worked out. The Seattle Seahawks go out and they draft Jadarian Price, and people talk about pressure and all of these things. What about a running back who is a backup in college is going to have to step in and play for the Super Bowl champs first time out against the team that they just ran the ball all over?
On him. No tape on him.
Wait,
this is sneaky.
I heard this from a couple fans of the show when we downed the Seahawks offensive line on the podcast this week. It's the exact same offensive line that got handed it to them in the Super Bowl. Do you guys remember the first 10 drives of this game? They didn't have a touchdown. You basically had Kenneth Walker going ham on his own with not very good blocking. They were getting dominated up front too. Not a good day for the Seahawks offensive line. I would say not a good second half of the season for the Seahawks offense.
Well, now, much to the chagrin of his beloved New England Patriots, Greg has made the Seahawks offensive line try extra hard in this game, the very first game of the 2026 NFL season. So there's a whole rest of week one that we get a chance to see here. You can see it represented graphically. That next game is going to be Thursday night. The 49ers at the Rams, a little in-division action. Also looking forward to a few of these games, including an opportunity to see the Buffalo Bills at the Texans, a team that they've had some trouble with. They've been on the road the last few years, and they'll get a chance to go back to Houston in that one. The rest of your week one schedule also includes a chance to see Kyler Murray for the first time. The Vikings are playing host to the Green Bay Packers. It'll all wrap up on Monday Night Football with the Broncos playing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
J.J. McCarthy erasure, by the way. You're not giving him a chance in that quarterback battle?
They did say it's a true quarterback competition.
And we can believe them.
Yes, because when people tell you things are true, that's when you know that those are factual. So let's look at the rest of the Week 1 games. Obviously, we love the opener. What's the Week 1 game you're most excited about?
I'm going to the 1 p.m. Eastern Bills-Texans game that you mentioned. Josh Allen is a superhuman against every team. And against the Buffalo Bills, he's like, I'm not going to go Nathan Peterman, but maybe J.P. Lossman or E.J. Manuel. I mean, it hasn't been good. It's been the worst games of his career, and it's the most fun defense in the league to watch. You add DJ Moore into the mix, you add Joe Brady and whatever he's going to change in terms of the offense, and you do it against, we say every year that defense, it's not as consistent. It's hard to, be as elite defensively year after year after year. You got to build around offense. Like D'Amico Ryans laughs at you because he gets it done, and this is one of the youngest, best defenses we've seen of this century, and so that one at home is going to be a lot of fun for the Texans.
I love that pick. I see you went for the early window. I'm going all out to celebrate as we start the NFL 2026 season, and I'm going Monday Night Football, the Broncos at the Chiefs in Arrowhead, one of the loudest places that you can play a football game. It is, I personally think, the return of Patrick Mahomes. If you're sort of checking the tea leaves coming out of that market, you maybe think he's on schedule to open the season. It is Sean Payton and Andy Reid. Sean Payton is 7-5 all-time, including the postseason, against the other veteran coach, Andy Reid. It is a overhauled secondary for the Chiefs that's going to have to prove themselves in a big spot against Bo Nix and a talented cast of receivers. This is a really, really fun one for me, and it's going to be competitive, and it's both of these grizzled old offensive mind coaches who want to make a statement.
I love that. I definitely hope it's not Jarrett Stidham versus Justin Fields. That would be weird. I also think when it's a Week 1 division game, that of the two teams that are the favorites in the division, it's almost too important of a game for Week 1. It's going to end up factoring in to who maybe has a higher seed in the AFC playoffs.
Yeah, and again, ultimately, if it is Jarrett Stidham and Justin Fields, we'll all be robbed. I think we'd like to see Patrick and Bo out and available in this game. I'll have more on the return of Nix coming up later in one of the games that I'm looking forward to in terms of the season. But my Week 1 game, it's a little bit off the board. It's a couple of teams that we don't know. We don't know. It is the Miami Dolphins going to Las Vegas to take on the team with the number 1 overall pick. Will we see Fernando Mendoza? Is this all Kirk Cousins? I'm so excited for this matchup just because it's new. And yeah, we could be in this unfortunate scenario where it's, Fernando needs to sit back and watch as if football is something that is taught through osmosis. Instead, we could get Fernando Mendoza. We could get Malik Willis and see kind of a formulated vision of what these two franchises, one going through an incredible overhaul, the other starting an incredible overhaul that could have started a year ago. And so we get a chance to see that. That's why I'm excited. I'm just looking forward to seeing what we could get, because let's be honest, Week 1 can tell lies, can tell all kinds of lies. But this is going to be new no matter what. That's why I love it.
And it's 2 new head coaches, too. It's Clint Kubiak in Las Vegas, and it is Jeff Hafley in Miami. And I don't actually think I know what a head coach team by those 2 guys actually looks like. So you're going to see a lot of identity building in Week 1, and you're going to try to see, I think, some like sneaky, production out of either of these teams, especially if they get the quarterbacks they want going. This could be really, really fun.
And you got the number 1 free agent of 2026.
There it is.
Malik Willis, who's now on my team. So I'm rooting for Malik Willis to show out.
And we've come a long way. Obviously, quarterbacks get the lion's share of attention. We've expanded things. We have people learning more about all sides of guys, even the offensive line. But let's be honest. We pay attention to the quarterbacks like Greg's number 1 free agent and all of the rest of the quarterback matchups we get to see this year.
He's pressured. He's got a ton of room. There goes Josh Allen. Lobs one end zone. It's a touchdown.
Lofts the middle. Going for Watson. Got it. Touchdown.
Going deep. Catch made. The Iceman cometh. The Iceman taken.
Jackson got away and throws to Flowers downfield. He's got it.
Drop it back. Thrown into the end zone. And it is hauled in.
Burrow throws it deep. One-hand catch with the right hand.
Holds the ball in his hand. Gets it downfield. Block 10. 5. Mahomes diving for the near front pylon.
Okay, so a chance to see video-wise some of those matchups. Let's put them on a board for you to dissect, because we got MVPs. We've got guys that have had great playoff games like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, those 13 seconds, and then a couple of weeks later it's Patrick Mahomes against Joe Burrow, a team, it's not like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are throwing the football at each other while they're on the field, but they're both involved in the game heavily, and it does matter. And so if we go into the quarterback matchups, Jordan, we're looking and we're just purely saying a chance to watch this quarterback, and then we get a chance to watch this quarterback, what jumps out to you about the 2026 season?
Are we forgetting the reigning MVP of the NFL? I saw a couple of names on there multiple times, and Matthew Stafford's name on there only one time.
Oh yeah, the Rams, they don't get enough attention.
They definitely don't get talked about enough on this show specifically. Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford, Week 13, Thursday Night Football. This is going to be a trick shot contest, guys, because if I know anything about either of these two quarterbacks, especially if they're both healthy at this point in the season, they are going to do a couple of things, whether it's with arm angles or on the run, making plays happen out of structure, that you just have to see to believe. Both of these guys will get the best out of each other on opposite sidelines. This game, I cannot wait to watch.
This Rams schedule's crazy. So this is on Thursday night. The week before, they play on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. They play on Christmas, which is a Friday. They are tentatively scheduled for a Saturday in Week 17. That's just the back half of the season. They also start the season, by the way, in Melbourne, and is the first NFL team in history to go 3 straight primetime games to start the season. So, yeah, Stafford didn't get on that little graphic, but he's going to be all in our televisions this year.
Yeah, especially at nighttime, where we've only got 7 games on the schedule that aren't after 8 o'clock.
That's when darkly chaotic Matthew Stafford emerges.
Yes, he comes out from the shadows, an opportunity for us to look ahead to that game. Your must-watch quarterback matchup.
I'm going Lamar. I'm going Joe Burrow, and I'm trying to live in the moment and understand what we have and be grateful for. And what we have is the greatest divisional quarterback rivalry in NFL history. I think by the time these two teams are done, if you look at it, there's not that many great options. Jim Kelly, Dan Marino was up there for sure, but they ball out. These two offenses have tended to beat up the opposing defenses, and they put on a show. And you're telling me it's TNF, it's Week 17, just adding up the importance. Yes, Trey Hendrickson will have already played against his former team back in Week 7, but this will be his return to Cincinnati. So that adds a little bit of spice. Trey Hendrickson trying to go get his old teammate, Joe Burrow, and I just expect a lot of offense.
I cannot wait for this because the stakes will also be so high for both of these teams. We'll get to it a little bit later on in this show, but a team that might surprise some people this year in the Cincinnati Bengals, and a team that absolutely needs to gather momentum, Patrick,
there it is,
into the end of the season and actually make a legitimate bona fide playoff run in the Baltimore Ravens, helmed by two of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. This is exciting.
Especially with at the end of the season, you've got a new head coach coming in, a defensive-minded head coach, where they haven't covered Jamar Chase since he entered the National Football League. It's probably a pretty important thing.
Who has?
Yeah, for the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see if they get an opportunity to do it. I am picking a quarterback matchup that we were all robbed of last year in the AFC Championship game. I am going to the Denver Broncos and New England Patriots in Week 17. Bo Nix will hopefully be on the field up against Drake May, where, yes, much to the chagrin, as Greg randomly, firing a shot at fellow Tulane alum J.P. Lossman earlier today. But the Jarrett Stidham performance was one where, some Auburn and Baylor guys maybe should look back on and want to get another chance. And thankfully,
you love to blame this whole game on Stidham as if the best offensive line in the league stunk that day. And there's a lot of guys on the field. Defense could have just shut him down.
He doesn't throw the ball backwards 20 yards in a panic moment.
That was a big turning point.
All right,
will you take it personally, Greg, as a Patriots and Drake May fan, Drake May Rosenthal, if Bo Nix, a team you kind of like to take shots on, gets beat?
That was a plot line.
I like that this is in that little weird Week 17 Saturday where they got to choose their 3 favorite games and put them. This is my prediction. This will be the primetime game.
You want to talk about some Saturdays? There's going to be some Saturdays. We get a chance to wake up early. Let's talk international football games, including some that we haven't seen before. Yes, international fans. 9 games. Talking about those when we come back on NFL Daily Schedule Release presented by Verizon.
welcome to Corinthians Arena.
The Emerald Isle has turned black and gold.
Willkommen to Olympic Stadium in Berlin.
Beautiful day to be in London, man.
We come all the way over here to play around, bro.
Taylor. Und da ist der Touchdown. Das war's. Game over. Woo.
Arriva Samuel che si marcia alla 5 alla 1.
Touchdown, Los Angeles Chargers.
Wentz throws to the end zone. Touchdown.
4th and 1, cuts it loose, end zone shot, got it!
Jordan Addison. He's the man of the match.
Indianapolis Colts gewinnen zu Hause in Deutschland bei Björn Werner im Wohnzimmer.
Oh, so many great international games in 2025. Well, we've got 9 solid ones coming up for you here in 2026. Starting things off in Melbourne, Australia. The 49ers taking on the Rams. It's an NFC very west game coming from Australia in week 1 all the way through week 11, where the 49ers will also wrap up the international schedule in Mexico City in Estadio Bantori in November 22nd. As it's time for marquee matchups presented by Verizon. Greg Rosenthal, what international game are you the most excited for?
I like things that are new.
Oh.
This is a whole continent we've never been to, Australia, and it's also a game in terms of the NFC West with the 49ers and Rams that could mean a lot at the end of the season. I like that Kyle Shanahan whined about it because it gives us something to root against. Like, calm down. The season's starting this way. I like that we're starting the season on a Wednesday so that this can be set up on a Thursday. It's less time between Labor Day and the start of the year. And most importantly, it's the 2 best offensive coaches of their generation, and hopefully it's the time of year before the substation really impacts the 49ers. I'm joking. They really have been the most injured team in the NFL on average over the last couple of years, so you do hope that they're fresh and ready to go. And look, I'm not gonna be mocking the Rams if they don't have a great offensive performance, but you will be wondering, like, well, what if they had just added a nice first-round receiver, Kenyon Steak or something like that, if they don't score enough points in this game against an improved 49ers defense.
Not judging, just noticing is the phrase we like to use here on NFL Daily. Also, we like statements of intent, and I think that's a statement of intent game for both of these teams that will define a lot of how they start the season. My game that I'm most excited for internationally is Week 10, Patriots versus Lions in Munich. We already know that those crowds just bring it. And when I think about Lions fans and a trip that Lions fans could and should go on and will travel very well for this game, I can just picture it, right? I can picture it, a Stein in each hand, Dan Campbell rallying the crowd. It's going to be a good game. We've got a lot of really good games for the international slate this year, which feels kind of intentional by the league. And I cannot be more excited for this fan base to get to go to this and to watch it. It's going to be a great crowd, great environment, and I think it's going to be one of the most fun of the slate.
Yeah, the Germany games were great last year, and as Greg mentioned, we got some new international opportunities. My game is a new international opportunity, and how perfect is it for the folks that are fans of the team on the French Quarter? They got the fleur-de-lis. They're thinking all about, well, let's take it all the way back to Paris, France. The New Orleans Saints are playing host as the home team in Paris to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's great international fan base, an opportunity to see these teams where it's week 7. We're again playing in a new place. More Tyler Shuck opportunities. This will be right about the point where you've got almost a full season of Tyler Shuck starting, really coming into his own, having a great young quarterback versus whatever's going on at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. By week 7 in a new look Steelers team. It's a new Steelers era, and it's all new. And I'm looking forward to that game in Paris, where it's a great opportunity for us to celebrate some NFL history, but also look forward to a new era and new relationships with some of our friends.
It's a heat check. Can Aaron Rodgers win again overseas? Like, Paris feels like a heat check for the entire NFL.
Speaking of checking heat, what about checking heat on a large bird that we're cooking for one of my favorite holidays, including the defrost game, where, yes, get that thing in the saline solution prior to Thanksgiving morning, where on Thanksgiving Eve you get a chance to see the Packers and the Rams, and then on Thanksgiving, batting leadoff, the Bears at the Lions. Try to have a great halftime show. Maybe it's Eminem. Maybe you get a chance to get other Detroit legends, some Motown guys. Unfortunately, maybe Kid Rock will be available. Who knows? Eagles and Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Nickelback.
Middle game.
Let's see if they can come back.
Creed, we need another Creed halftime.
No, I'm saying for the Cowboys. That was legendary.
Chiefs, Bills also on Thanksgiving. The Broncos, Steelers. A Black Friday game. So just the whole week of food and turkey. What jumps out to you about that week, Jordan?
Well, I love the Eagles at Cowboys game because, first of all, I think these teams will both be very good this year. And you guys know me, I love defense, right? And I love how methodically the Cowboys have gone about rebuilding their defense behind new defensive coordinator Christian Parker, who, by the way, happens to be a direct protege of Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, one of my favorite defensive schemes out there. And these two are going to clash and try to just outwit each other on opposite sidelines. The mentor-mentee vibe is great, and I love that it's in that really prime window where, you know, you're kind of maybe waiting for the turkey to be done. You're waiting. You just really, really are craving some good football, and I think they're going to give it to us. Yeah,
that's traditionally the most watched NFL game of the entire season, and another one that's going to be bidding will be that Thanksgiving Eve game. We got a little Packers-Rams. Kids are out of school that day. Kids are out of school the next day. Maybe I'll bring the family to it. There's always a little brother, big brother thing going on with Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay. And to me, obviously the quarterbacks are box office, but Jordan Love is at the point of his career. I feel like he's had so much continuity. They're almost doing less is more with this wide receiver group in general. I know there's been a lot of transition, and yet I do feel like when I've watched Jordan Love's career in general, like, he's just one of those players that I think, like a Stafford, just 1 year when you don't expect it, pops up for like an MVP campaign. This could be that season for the Packers, and it'll be interesting. This game's on Netflix. I've seen the advertising around it, a new tradition, so we might get used to the night before Thanksgiving. Packers, Rams, it's not going to be these teams every year, but this is going to be part of the Thanksgiving slate every year.
And something I think that could help Jordan Love's perception, playing, Stafford, no-look throws, all this excitement. When Jordan Love is on, he just makes it look so easy that people just, it's like, oh, it's boring to folks. But the guy's very good, very, very good quarterback. Also, some very good quarterbacks playing on the night game on Thanksgiving. You may be familiar with them. One, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. It's 13 seconds revisited. I'm sure it's going to be featured on the intro. They're going to have the number 13 that's going to pan. There's going to be Joe Brady looking off into the crowd at their new stadium. It's going to be an interesting moment, a moment filled with revenge. But we're hopefully getting not fully, spoiler alert, that ACL recovery is going to take time for Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to be a significant amount of time. He's an incredible athlete, and he's going to look very good playing football. Some of it's going to be labored. In Week 12, the accumulation of stuff, maybe it's not all the way back, but it's still going to be 15 out there playing football, which is something that we all appreciate and get a chance to look forward to. And that's one of my favorite holidays. A lot of people's favorite holidays, including the inhabitant at the North Pole who, gets transcendent powers on Christmas Eve. You may know him as Nicholas. The head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles also has a name, Nick. They play host to the Houston Texans on Christmas Eve. Hopefully he's there, 8:15 Eastern on Prime Video. And then a chance on Christmas Day starts with the Packers and the Bears on Netflix. Bills and Broncos also on Netflix. And then we're back to National Broadcast TV for an NFC big-time game, the Rams and the Seahawks. Christmas. You can only pick one, Jordan. What do you pick?
Well, guys, we may be having turkey on Thanksgiving, but for Christmas, we're having beef, my friends, because it's the Packers at the Bears. It is an NFC North matchup that will have enormous stakes, and it's two coaches who do not like each other very much and are, frankly, quite open about that fact in Matt LaFleur and Ben Johnson. This is going to be a playoff rematch, obviously, among a couple that they'll have this season. And this is the type of game that just really gets your juices flowing, especially the idea that it could be a snow game as well. A great crowd expected for that. It's such an occasion. I absolutely love this for a Christmas Day game.
And there's so many great moments and opportunities. I think sometimes the uniform matchup is important, and you get a great set of blues with Bills, Broncos coming in the middle part of the day. Everybody's watching. It's a Netflix game, so you probably got a new streaming device as a gift. Maybe you've got a projector. You can go outside in certain scenarios.
Real wealth.
And just watch it. There's Temu options, Greg. You can get a lot of great products. Of course, you could Also get great options on Amazon Prime Video. Or, if you've got YouTube TV, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check out some of the patrons and sponsors available there. But there's so many places, there's only so many great games you can see. But just a rematch where the Bills fans will scream, and the fact that they're looking at this play that was called an interception, I think most...
They should have won that game. They should have gone to the Super Bowl.
A lot of shouldas for both teams, and then they get a chance to exercise those shouldas on Christmas Day, Greg.
The best two teams in the NFL last year, Rams and Seahawks. We have an exercise like the must-watch game of the year. The first one I thought of is these two games, Rams-Seahawks. Happens to be on Christmas night. I'm not saying that the schedule makers weren't trying hard before in terms of Christmas, Thanksgiving. But I do feel like they tried a little harder this year. Like they just made sure to put, as well as we can know before a season starts, the best teams, the premier organizations in these spots, and wrapping up a triple header with Rams and Seahawks, which to me the regular season game might have decided the Super Bowl championship last year, and that could obviously happen again. It could be deciding the NFC West, but Mike Macdonald was brought to this division as the McVay-Shanahan killer. You know what he did last season?
He did it.
He killed him. And then at the very end, Sam Darnold got the credit for it.
Yeah, the highest stakes and I think the biggest beefs happen all throughout this particular slate, and it's sour memories for some teams and great ones for another, which is another thing I really like about how they've leveraged these matchups on this entire day. This is a pre-Christmas gift. I feel like I've been gifted.
There are some fan bases who may look at the schedule and say, that wasn't a gift. That was a big lump of coal, because this schedule is hard. What schedule do we think is the hardest schedule, and whose schedule is looking delightful and fluffy like that snow falling on Caleb Williams in this highlight? We've got that all coming up on the NFL Daily Schedule Release presented by Verizon. great legendary moment, much like when the schedule comes out, we get a chance to see the strength of schedule. That's what people will remember, just like Caleb Williams' pass to Cole Kmet in the divisional round. The Bears have the toughest schedule, according to last year's opponent win percentage, obviously playing in the NFC North, having a good bit to do with that, but Bears are very good. The Dolphins weren't necessarily in that position in 2025. They have the second most difficult schedule as we come back in. That's how strength of schedule is rating it, Greg.
Yes.
Who has the hardest schedule to you?
I don't really buy the strength of schedule, but I do buy divisions being tougher than others. And so the Cardinals have the toughest schedule because that's the toughest division. Having to go against those 3 superstar coaches 6 different times is such a tough task for Mike LaFleur. I'm not quite sure why he decided to take on this task, but it's a lot of money. You never know if you're going to get that chance again. So the Cardinals, they get to play those 3 teams, and they don't get to play the Cardinals. That's supposed to be the best part of the NFC West schedule. So that right off the bat would make them the toughest schedule. And then you look at the week by week, no bye till week 14. I mean, that's a long time to wait. And they're one of the only teams that start with 2 games on the road. It's so tough. And then you got to start against Jim Harbaugh. That is very difficult right off the bat. So don't like it. I was also wrong. They got the Seahawks, but that feels like a road game. It's so hard.
Well,
3 out of 4 on the road.
Starting against physical teams like that can automatically completely set a tone or reset what you thought you were going to be going into a season. That's the danger here, first of all, with Arizona, who I don't think have really high expectations, but still could definitely set a tone. Similar to the Buffalo Bills, like this is a team that's super talented, really, really high expectations. They already play in one of the tougher divisions in the sport. They're great quarterback matchups as well. They're not regarded as like a top difficult schedule. They're the 8th most difficult schedule in terms of the list that we're looking at, opponent strength of schedule. And I looked at their weeks 1 through 8, and they are playing against extremely physical teams several times. They're at the Houston Texans. They play the Lions. They play the Chargers. They play the Rams, they play the Ravens, all between weeks 1 through 8 to open the season. The stakes are really high up there, even though they have a new head coach. I don't know how safe anyone in that building will be if they start losing a lot of games in Josh Allen's prime. It's a combination of tough, open, and also really, really high stakes and a lot of pressure up there.
Joe Brady probably thinking, well, you couldn't give us one of those 4 Dolphins and Jets games in the first half of the season?
Well, and that's the thing, like looking at the schedule, if you want to say like they get breaks in those first 12 weeks, those are 2 road games.
Yeah.
At the Jets in the division and also at the Las Vegas Raiders, the new version of the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see how things go. So let's go over to the other side, where everything is, again, all happy and comfortable based on last year's opponent's win percentage. That's where the Browns have the easiest schedule. The New Orleans Saints have the second easiest schedule, followed up by the Bengals and the tie between the Colts and the Falcons at exactly 465. So everything that all adds up. It says the Colts and the Falcons have the exact same difficulty of schedule, but only one can have the easiest schedule to you. The whole NFL, Greg, who has the easiest schedule?
I went with the Saints. I thought it had to be a team from the NFC South ultimately because I think that's the easiest division. You don't have any super duper stars, and you do have a very tough start against the Lions and the Ravens, certainly. But after that, there's a lot of soft spots in this schedule with the Raiders, with all the different division games. And it's a couple straight seasons where they've had, on paper, one of the easier schedules. And I usually dismiss strength of schedule going into the season, but you know who had the easiest schedule on paper going into last season? It was the New England Patriots. And it ended up playing out that way. Not just that it was an advantage, but after the season, it looked like one of the easiest schedules. And it's the reason why they won 14 games versus winning, let's say, 10 or 11, even if they were above expectations. I don't think the Saints will be that good, but I think they're going to get assisted along the way.
I see your Saints choice here, and I would posit that the expectations are higher based on the way they ended the season. And I raise you what I actually think is the easiest schedule in the NFL this year, and that is the Cleveland Browns, because not only do they have pretty little and low expectations on what they will actually do this year, especially with the quarterback question that has not been resolved out there yet. They also parted ways with Jim Schwartz, who was coordinating that defense. They didn't do much to change their defense around either. And so nobody's really expecting them to go out and catch the league by storm. And the league schedule makers clearly aren't either, because they just said, hey, stay at home for a huge chunk of the end of the season, weeks 10 through 14. They're just sitting there. They're just at home. You know, they're just hanging out, taking on opponents. Come on down. Come to Cleveland. Come play us.
One primetime game for the Browns, so they were not one of the 5 teams that don't have a primetime game. It's against the Steelers week 4. Other than that game, they were at 1 p.m. Eastern. 16 other weeks. That's incredible.
It's nice to know where you're going to be at any given time. You just at home and at 1 p.m.
It's a beat writer's dream.
And that's the thing. Year to year, so many things can change. But we feel pretty confident that the Cleveland Browns will remain the Cleveland Browns. But sometimes, every once in a while, there's a Derek Anderson season in there. Every once in a while, somebody will sneak up and surprise you. Who's that going to be this year? What do Jordan and Greg think? Who is going to shock the world and be this year's surprise team? Also, let's look deeper into this primetime slate. Games we're all going to be watching together and discussing on social media because that's what it's all about. That's coming up on the schedule release presented by Verizon.
Hey, it's about us, man. Let's go have some fun, man.
He stands in quarterback draw across the 5, across the goal line right. Touchdown!
Here you go, fellas. Great job. Great job. Let's go get another one. It's hard.
I know.
Good God.
Hey, listen, look at me. It's going to be hard. But look, this will be the most rewarding 6.5 minutes of our lives if we can get it done.
Hey, what more do you want? To the Super Bowl, baby.
Drake May!
That's how you do that! 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 That's how you do that!
And with that performance, Drake May and the New England Patriots earned a spot in the Super Bowl. They started off last season with an inexplicable loss to the Las Vegas Raiders, and then they go all the way to the Super Bowl, so they became a surprise team. The question is, we need a surprise team this year, Greg Rosenthal. Who will shock the world in 2026?
For the second straight time on this show, I'm going with the New York Jets. Now, they did
doubling
surprise
down.
me last year by playing a defense straight out of like 1976 and not winning a game for a couple months. But I do think this team is built to be better. I like the offseason that they have. That's Aaron Glenn in happier moments. It was brief, this celebration in Tampa, because they still lost that game. The offensive line is feeling good because they just got ranked near the top 10 in the NFL Daily Offensive Line Rankings. You go over to the defensive side of the ball, 8 new starters. They're not going to all work out, but I think they upgraded the level of professionalism. And then, yes, the reclamation project that was Geno Smith is now like a reunion that no one that rooted for the Jets back in 2014 could have ever seen coming. And there are going to be moments when Geno is out there lighting up opponents, and you're going to think of this segment, and you're going to think, Greg was right. That team's better than we thought.
I'm really looking forward to that, Greg. You mentioned playing an antiquated defense. I would argue that that's better than playing no defense at all. And so my surprise team has gone about overhauling many parts of its defense and making kind of a splash right before the draft. I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals in a year where Joe Burrow literally has now everything he says he's wanted. He's got his top skill guys under contract. He is returning as a healthy player. The defense has been tweaked at least enough to make you really think they've got something cooking here with their trade of Dexter Lawrence and then continuing to build still a big question mark of a pass rush plan, complementary guys around an anchor right in the middle of that defensive line. Obviously missing Trey Hendrickson. We'll see how that goes for them this year. But that defense had to raise its floor. And I do think the Cincinnati Bengals have done enough to raise their floor. This is a sneaky hot seat job, too. This is Zach Taylor potentially in the final year of his contract, has to win football games, has to make his quarterback happy. We got Grumpy Joe at the end of last season. I don't think they want Grumpy Joe again.
Yeah, Grumpy Joe had existential Joe for parts of last season as well because he worked so hard.
He wasn't Joe K.
To come back from the injury, and we'll see. I love Joe K.
Sorry.
Ain't Joe K. I will go with the surprise team. I wanted to go with the Jets, but Greg sniped me on the Jets.
2 of us.
So I will take the Atlanta Falcons, a Kevin Stefanski reclamation where we don't necessarily know what's good. It wasn't just one search firm. There were multiple search firms that went about coming up with a coach. Matt Ryan returns as a team president. How's this all going to work? Is Tua Tagovailoa going to start the season? But the one thing that I think we can count on, Bijan Robinson is one of the better players in the National Football League. What Drake London has been able to do, regardless of the quarterback situation, has been very, very good. There is a talent level on this team that can take advantage of what Greg calls a relatively weak division. I would say they're equally strong in a sense that
You've been pushing back on all day that every division is equal. The NFC South hasn't had a 10-win team in like this entire decade.
Because they all cannibalize each other.
And so
no, they play each other the exact same amount of time every division plays each other.
Who better to surprise than a team from the NFC South? I will take the Atlanta Falcons. What about Thursdays? 7 days in a week, and we generally sometimes underappreciate what Thursday has to offer. Well, this season on Thursday Night Football, things are looking great. Starting off with the Lions, the Bills, week 2. Seahawks, Broncos, perhaps. Super Bowl preview, week 6. Great matchups. Then we go ahead towards the end of the season. We get a TNF game on Thursday. On Friday, we'll still have TNF branding, but it is a Friday game. Week 12 Broncos at Steelers, all wrapping up with a Week 17 Ravens at the Bengals, as Greg aforementioned, the revenge game as Trey Hendrickson gets to go back to Cincinnati for that matchup. So, Greg, your TNF game that stands out to you.
Okay, Caleb Williams versus Drake May is pretty delicious, but I don't think we can ignore the opening of a new stadium in Buffalo, Lions-Bills. And I love this matchup. It's the first short week of the season, which I don't think you want. Like 2 games in 5 days is a tough ask. The Buffalo Bills are coming off a game in Houston. That's going to be tough. They could be 0-1. That's a physical team you're facing. So a little bit of pressure. And if you think back to just a few years ago, like a decade ago, these were 2 teams you would never think about as national teams. It's a little bit of a test now for Detroit, coming off a down year as like, are we still a true national team? I believe that they are. I believe these are 2 of the best teams in the NFL.
Well, in terms of true national broadcasts, there's only one. #1 TV show in America for the past 14 years running Sunday Night Football.
I thought it was NFL Daily.
Well, no, NFL Daily, #1 show on the Fast Channel, also on YouTube TV, YouTube as well.com. Thank you for watching us on any vehicle that you can. But on a chance to see some Sunday Night Football, starting off Week 1, Cowboys, Giants, all the way through. What about another NFC East matchup, Eagles, Commanders at Week 8? And we look to the back half of the season, a couple of really, really good matchups, including the Lions and the Vikings, another divisional matchup in Week 15. That could have some huge determination, as well as the Eagles and the 49ers in Week 17. So pick one, Jordan Rodriguez, Sunday Night Football game.
You know, I really, really like the idea of Lions-Vikings. However, there's one that just sort of tickled my fancy just a little bit more, and that was Week 17, Eagles at 49ers. I think, first of all, there will be NFC stakes all over this game. There's be so competitive. But I think that both of these teams are glass half empty, glass half full teams. Depending on your perspective, you can look at either of these rosters and you could either see a significant amount of variance between their ceiling and their floor. And a lot of that predicated on injuries, on offensive line performance, on whether, on the 49ers case, whether guys come back fully healthy once they return from injuries. Both of these teams have among the highest ceilings in the league, but also, I would argue, could have some of the lowest floors if they are missing key players or if things just don't quite go right for them the way they expect. But I expect them both to be good, and I expect this to be fun.
Are you aware that these two teams played in the playoffs against each other last year?
I feel like sometimes forget.
Of all the playoff games that happened,
yes,
I memory hold that game. Very forgettable game. 49ers Eagles.
They're all very memorable. They're all unique snowflakes like Monday Night Football, where it's a great schedule. Once again, get a chance to see the Bills Rams in LA. The Bills got Puka Nacua here in LA a couple of years ago. That game's at Week 5. Bears Seahawks, a fun one at Week 8. Then looking at the other half of the Monday Night Football schedules, Bills Vikings, a very good game. The Giants and the Lions, Texans Packers, wrapping out all of our rowdy. Well, no, the rowdy friends haven't been around because Hank Jr. His friends don't include my friends. So as we look back and look forward to Monday Night Football, I am looking back at that Bills and Vikings game because the schedule makers did not want a Kyler and Arizona rematch. I would have loved to have seen that. The years and the schedules didn't necessarily line up. But we do get the Minnesota Vikings playing host to the Buffalo Bills at this point in Week 9. Kevin O'Connell and Kyler Murray. Albeit, I don't want to move past this true quarterback competition in which a general manager was fired because of either way. I think Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback for for the Minnesota Vikings. They're not in Arizona anymore. They don't want him there. He's in Minnesota. I'm looking forward to that one. I think you can't miss it. But speaking of can't miss, what about the whole season? What about if you've really got a limited opportunity to watch football? We hope that doesn't apply to you, but you can only watch a few games. These are the ones that we think you should build your entire 2026 existence around so you can watch these games. Can't miss them when we come back on NFL Daily Schedule Release, presented by Verizon.
my fault. What you willing to lay on the line?
This guy's unbelievable.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh dang it.
Jesus criminy. You disrespect one of my passes like that again, we're gonna have a problem, right?
Y'all better get that boom out my face. My bad. I just tried to hit you in the face. My bad.
It's okay, Dad.
Take a sip of your sippy cup.
Why you say that?
Because it's right here.
Oh. Free buffet, free buffet. Taco toast. All right, vodka, we're good.
Who they come to see, box office? Yeah! You the best in the world, boy. You like that?
Oh, so many great moments of the 2025 season. Looking forward to what we can see here in 2026. But what if we could only watch a little of this schedule, which we've now got a color-coded opportunity.
How nice this is.
Ben McWilliams over there handing us the schedule for 2026. You can only pick one of these glorious squares.
Yes.
Which one is it?
I'm going to a 1 p.m. game. Justice for the 1 p.m. games. Often ignored, like the Chargers and the Buccaneers. What teams haven't we represented in this show that could potentially make the Super Bowl? This matchup, Chargers-Buccaneers, is the most unlikely Super Bowl possibility out there. I do think this is the year that Justin Herbert and this offense could go to another level. And yes, the Buccaneers, a little less likely, but fattening up on that soft NFC South, I think they've got the talent. These are two of the best teams in terms of line play, I believe, in the league. I think the Chargers are going to be among the most improved teams, and I do think these are going to be, they're not quite surprise teams because I think people expect them to make the playoffs, but maybe at the upper tier of the entire NFL, and this turns into maybe a number 1 seed in the AFC versus the number 2 seed in the NFC type of matchup.
Wow, it's really something. The number 2 seed in the NFC comes from a bad division where all the teams are.
How about that? That's so interesting. Isn't that so interesting?
They're like 4-0 against the NFC South. It helps.
Listen, I am not even going to pretend to disrespect any of these fantastic teams that we're talking about here. The Jaguars and the Texans, at the Texans in Week 15, two of my actual favorite teams to watch play football. I love the Texans defense like I don't love many things in my life, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were super fun last year, and I'm really curious to see, especially against one of the best defenses in the league, in the Houston Texans, whether Liam Cohen can continue to evolve his scheme and his system forward, or whether the teams like the Texans, with a relatively simple schematically, but very, very difficult to play against because they just got better dudes than everyone else, defense. And this is a really good testing ground. There will be AFC stakes on the line, I think, for both of these teams as well during that time. We think that the Jaguars are going to be evolving forward a little bit more. They were really gravitating toward picking up extra tight ends, some of that heavier personnel that everybody loves to talk about right now. But the Texans just have a smothering defense, and it's so physical. They could basically neutralize any personnel that you use, so I'm really excited to see this one.
Yeah, a great matchup in the division. Mine's not even a conference matchup. It is random. It is the Baltimore Ravens going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, reminding me of when a few years ago, nobody called each other. Nobody had any conversations, but there was a collective decision that said, who needs this Lamar Jackson guy? One of those teams that has needed a quarterback desperately in those years since was the Atlanta Falcons. And so, yeah, the folks in Atlanta who were deprived of an opportunity to have a multi-time MVP will be able to watch him play football there in Atlanta, where there were multiple search firms involved in the process that wound up with Kevin Stefanski and Matt Ryan coming back.
Well,
so
they had Mariota.
Yeah, get a chance to see that. Looking forward to that. Also looking forward to the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, the team that won the Super Bowl. They got this schedule. They start with the team that they beat in the Super Bowl. Then they are in the division against the Arizona Cardinals. More than a few bumps in the road, including wrapping up the season with the team that gave them all kinds of fits in the Los Angeles Rams. Do we think that they will be able to run it back, Greg?
I think they can win the division. I think it's a good schedule for them. It's actually about as soft, considering the opponents that they have, that they could. You look at that schedule, 3 out of the first 5 at home, and then some of the easier opponents on the road. You could see them get out to a hot start. Playing the Rams twice in the last 3 weeks snuck up on me. Like, that is weird. Don't love it. I don't think they're the NFC. I'm taking the field over the Seahawks, but I think they're maybe the favorites.
You know, backloading the schedule like that for the Rams and either the 49ers or the Rams and the Seahawks has become pretty popular over the last couple of years with these NFC West contests. And it used to be the 49ers and the Rams that started seeing this happen to them as games that would potentially decide playoff seeding, and then usually would decide playoff seeding, and then they'd play a third time down the line. So this is really exciting that the Seahawks have this status. I think running it back, quote unquote, all depends on a couple of factors, and one of them is new offensive coordinator Brian Fleury. Mike McDonald has done something really clever and also to irritate his rivals around the NFC West as well, which is just a nice little layer to it, which is hire out of the offensive schemes that will be attacking him 4 times a year, 5 times a year, even more than that. And I just think that Brian Fleury, who is of the Kyle Shanahan system, was our tight ends coach for a long time, it's a make or break year for this offense. Can they take another step forward with Sam Darnold, with him coordinating this offense? That will tell us a lot about just how high these Seahawks can fly.
They flew so high last year, and it gets to a point where the tree has proliferated so much, it's almost difficult to not hire somebody that's not a part of the tree. You want to talk about a tree in a family? It's this one that matters. Thanks to Jordan Rodriguez, Greg Rosenthal, all of our folks over there in the control room. I'm Patrick Claybon. We'll see you next time. We'll release a schedule. Enjoy the 2026 season.